Here in the United States, Earth Day is more than 30 years old. And as our thoughts turn toward caring for the environment, we talked today on Austin Faith Dialogue with a member of the Green Builders program about how we can be greener in our churches, our homes, our buildings. Stay with us for good conversation on Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
These days in the United States, we're much more conscious of caring for the environment. Today on Austin Faith Dialogue, we'll have some good conversation about ways we can be more responsible even as we build. I'm Sandy Wilder, your host, and today our guest is Jill Mayfield. You're the marketing director of the Green Building Program, which is part of Austin Energy.
That's right. It's part of Austin Energy, the city's community-owned electric utility.
It's good to have you here, Jill. Thanks. I bet a lot of people have never even heard of the Green Building Program. So in general terms, can you tell us what it is?
It's a community resource for people who are wanting to build, buy, or remodel. We work with builders to teach them how to build better, more energy efficient, environmentally sound homes. And we work with consumers, both residential, commercial, and multifamily, to help them get the best home for their dollar. We do workshops, we do trainings, we train builders, and they become members of our program, and it's a free membership, but they just have to learn how to build better. And we are always available to people to call us and talk to us about if they're getting ready to build or buy or remodel or just have a question about their home. We're happy to answer, and we're part of Austin Energy.
How is it that Austin came to have such a program?
Well, there were a lot of forward-thinking people in this town in the early 80s, and energy conservation was on people's mind. And we did quite a bit in our departments throughout the city on energy conservation. But in the early 90s, the city council and some really bright people wanted to do more. So the Green Building Program was born, and we not only rate energy efficiency in homes and buildings, but water efficiency, resource efficiency, materials used, health and safety, and community issues. So we rate homes on a 5-star level, and we also rate buildings and schools and churches as well.
The idea being that you can be more environmentally responsible if you think about all these issues before you start building, right?
Right, very much so. Right before you get ready to build, if it's a house, if it's a church, if it's a school, the process of getting ready to build is very important. But you have to build a team and look at the designs and think about really what you need, if it's just for a family of 4 or for a large group of people, and also about energy efficiency and water efficiency. That's always a concern for people, is how much they're going to pay on their utility bills, and to build that into their home or office or structure when they get started.
And that would be a concern, of course, for organizations. So what has the Green Building Program been doing with churches, with faith groups here in town?
Well, when architects get ready to design a building, they can come to us and ask our experts. We have materials experts, lighting experts, heating and cooling experts on our staff that can review the plans and say, what have you done here? Can you think about this? Make better choices for saving energy. We always know that churches are wanting to make sure their utility bills are covered, and that's a big problem sometimes. And we can help them get the most efficient system, face the windows in the right direction so things aren't too hot in the summer. So we're happy to work with them. We work with several churches in town. One of them is the Church of Conscious Harmony.
And we've got some pictures. So talk us through what this congregation has done.
By and large, the Church of Conscious Harmony has really gone all out and made their structure and a real showplace, and that's part of their mission of environmental soundness, energy efficiency. This is the church sanctuary, and all the wood in this sanctuary was from trees that are sustainably managed. That means when they're cut down, the forest is not disturbed, so the animals living there are, not disturbed as well.
Okay, and the next shot here shows
Well,
what?
this is the outside courtyard, and so many things are going on here. For one, is it's xeriscape using appropriate plants. The roof is metal, and so they're not getting too much sun, reflecting the sun, and they've got big overhangs. And this is something anybody can do in a church, is to make the overhangs enough over the windows so they're not getting sun on the windows. They've used lots of natural materials and lots of all sorts of items in there. One of the things that's unique about this church that no one has, you don't have to do this, but the walls are made of straw bales and they're stuccoed over. And it was done by a builder in town, and they're very sturdy.
Straw bales, literally straw.
Right, yes, and they're very energy efficient. It's just one way to build something.
Okay, and the next shot of the church, what are we seeing here?
Just overhangs that are really cool materials to keep the building cool, and the nice overhangs. They've used stone, which reflects the heat in the summer, and that's something that any church could incorporate.
What has their experience been so far in terms of energy bills? Do they come back and tell you?
They haven't come back and told us, but I'm sure we've gone out there, they're very low. They also do lots of other things in terms of managing their energy. They have places where they can open windows on a cool day and let the wind blow through on a nice spring day. So their windows are operable. So that's another thing people can think about. Windows that you open like you used to 100 years ago.
I like that. All right, a couple more, I think, about the church. What do you have here?
They've used a lot of recycled materials. This might look like wood on the screen, but in fact it's called a choice deck, and it is made from plastic bottles and plastic trash bags. It's very durable, and a wood deck can be really time-consuming, maintenance-consuming, and so churches want to look for materials that are low maintenance. This decking never needs to be refinished. Plus, on the other side, it's recycled material, so it's not taking virgin materials out of the environment. So that's just one way you can, cut your costs.
Okay, and then finally,
This is just an back of the church, which is not as pretty, but it's to show the rainwater collection system back there. They have a very good rainwater collection system. All the roof water goes into these cisterns in the back, and they use these primarily for irrigating the site, landscape irrigating. If you want to have a beautiful landscape, this is a great thing to do, to collect the water and then use it for the sprinkler system. And this way you're not, paying the water bill. And yet have a beautiful landscape as well.
and those are the pictures we have. What else has the church done that we don't have pictures of? Are there other things?
I think they've just taken a real approach to educating people about what they've done. They're open to the community to let the people see what they have accomplished there at this church. And I think they really also work in maintenance of their facility. They have lots of recycling. They use, I'm pretty sure they use plates instead of like paper plates. They use for dinners and luncheons and things like that. And they're very cautious with their water management, and there's signs inside the church, turn off the water, turn off the lights. So they've done a lot, not just on building the structure, but in maintaining the structure, which is just as critical sometimes, because if you don't maintain a structure, even how well it's built, it will come back to haunt you.
Yes, it will. Now, some folks might say, though, that materials that are recycled or perhaps not in as widespread use as traditional building materials are more expensive. Isn't that the case?
No and yes. It depends on the material. And sometimes people need to think about materials in a different way. The choice deck that you saw, the plastic deck, might cost a few pennies more, though that's changing as lumber prices rise. But you never have to refinish that deck. So you're not having to put more materials on it. So maintenance. So sometimes they do cost more, sometimes they just don't. It's just a matter of making a good choice and a knowledgeable choice.
Is there anything then that a congregation would need to do different in terms of working with the Green Building Program, different from what a family would do or a commercial business as they come talk to you all?
Not really. It's just start early. Make a list of your needs and what your expenses are going to be. Where's the money going to be taken up? What kind of needs do you need to fill for your church? Is it a big church, a little church? Do you have lots of other community meetings there? What are you going to use that building for if you're expanding or remodeling or building a new church? And make a list of your needs, and also get with the Green Building Program, call some of our commercial experts and they'll be happy to get you started on a process with your architect or your building committee and say, make sure you think about this before, and give you some tips. And then when they come back with the design, the first schematic designs, we're happy to look at them and say, have you thought about this? Or maybe you could do a more efficient air conditioner.
Now, if a church is going to be renovating, if it has an existing structure, are there some audits available that the Green Building Program could help with?
Well, the city, Austin Energy and both the water department have professionals that will come out and do a water audit, and they'll look at your energy use to see ways you can renovate your energy use, put different lighting in. The commercial energy program can do that. So if you just call, I think they're going to have a number up in a while, call them and they'll be happy to come out and suggest ways that you can change your building to be more energy efficient, environmentally sound. That helps the budget, that helps the planet. We're very willing to help you make a better building.
So how much does the service cost?
It's free. It's free to Austin Energy customers in the city of Austin and anyone who gets Austin Energy utilities.
Now, Austin Faith Dialogue is broadcast to a pretty wide area. There are going to be people outside of the Austin Energy area who will say, sign me up. What provisions do you have for working with anybody outside of your service area?
They just need to give us a call and we'll chat with them and find out what they need and maybe direct them to resources in their area. And there are a lot of good information on our website as well, and we could suggest sources for them. We're happy to talk to anyone.
I'm sure you are. Is this church the only one that has been doing green building in Austin?
No, lots of churches do other things. It's maybe smaller. Another church, St. John's United Methodist, is remodeling, but they're remodeling on their existing site. They decided not to move, not to buy new land. They're on existing infrastructure. And while this not seem to be green, it actually is quite green, the fact that they're not building a new building somewhere. They're not tearing up land. Some people have been remodeling and use paints and materials that are less toxic or don't have that fumes that make your eyes run and your head ache. And which is really good because so many times people spend a lot of time in a church, especially in the nursery. And so you want materials that are not harmful to people.
So the point, I guess, would be that it's never too late to call on you folks for help.
For assistance, if you've got an energy problem, Austin Energy is happy to help people out, to make suggestions and ways you can reduce energy and make changes in the way you maintain your facility.
And I know in the second half of the show we'll have more pictures showing the work that you folks have helped with. Look forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us during the first half of Austin Faith Dialogue. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're glad you're here for the second half of Austin Faith Dialogue. We're talking about green churches, green building during this time of the year when we remember Earth Day. And our guest is Jill Mayfield. You're the marketing coordinator for the Green Building Program with Austin Energy. And Jill, we've talked during the first half about what one congregation has done to make itself, it looks like, almost completely green. This time, let's focus a little bit on the behind the scenes, some of the materials that an organization or a family would use in green building, because you brought some pictures of that, right?
There are many materials. This picture you're seeing is called, it's a concrete, but it's a kind of concrete that's really light and it's easy to build with. And what we're trying to get people to do is steer them away from using so much wood. Wood's okay, but as the planet's forests are depleted, we want people to use other materials, and these are very structurally sound materials used in a lot of places all over the world, now being introduced in the United States.
Okay, so your walls is one way.
This
that
is
you can
just
be
another
green.
wall form. It doesn't matter what you build a wall with, it's just something that needs to be sturdy. It can be straw bale. This is something called rostra, which is a combination of old cellulose from the paper process and in old sawmills, and mixed with concrete. And it's also stacked, and it's very porous, and so you can pour concrete in it also to make it very sturdy. And they're stacked on each other, just sort of like an erector set, very easy to build with.
Okay, and then the last one here, the building materials, is what?
This is something that the lumber companies have been doing. They're making engineered products which use the very small pieces of wood from the mill floors and glue them together with very sturdy glues. These are engineered beams that go inside houses, and they're very sturdy, and actually they're straighter than just one straight piece of wood, which is almost pretty hard to find these days.
Yes, it is, as I've noticed as I've gone to home repair places. But now, how available are these materials?
Very available. What you need to do, though, is make sure you ask for them, or if you're working with an architect or a designer or your builder, saying, I'm interested in this product. Do you know anything about it? And just be aware, we always have information in our Green Building Program about different wall materials on our website, and different materials that people can use that are alternatives to wood and to some conventional construction.
Good, good. Now we've got some pictures, I understand, of various houses and a porch and a pond and so on, because I know people will be interested in this. Tell us about this house.
This house is actually a very green house, but it's also a house that's very affordable. It's built by Casa Verde Builders in East Austin. Wonderful houses that are very affordable for people to purchase and to live in. You want to make sure people can buy a house, but also live in a house and afford utilities, and it's a very wonderful program.
So what's special about this house? How is it green?
Well, so much is really the way it's set on the lot to take care of, get the breezes, the prevailing breezes. It's got a porch that builds community. People sit out on the porch and talk. It's got really good windows. It's also got a metal roof, I believe. Yes, that's right, a metal roof that reflects the sun, or light-colored exteriors. And it also has very efficient appliances in it. And that's a very green house. It doesn't have to be anything outlandish or way out to be green.
It looks very comfortable. House number 2, let's see what we've got here.
It's a house that's built in a suburban area. It's a new house. I think it's built by Hammond's Homes. It's a wonderful house, and it's just a very traditional style, but it's green. High efficiency utility appliances, really efficient windows. See the big overhangs on the porch? It's just a good way to be green. Good landscaping as well.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one.
This is just a very unusual house. It's got a Billy metal construction. It's using metal instead of lots of wood. And that's just another way. A green building house doesn't have to be just one type of house. It's really how you build it and the thought process you put into it.
Now, when you say metal on this one, that implies what? Metal for the walls also?
It could be metal framing, yes, and there's lots of metal framing going up around Central Texas, which is really great because termites can't eat metal, and we're seeing more termites in Central Texas than we've seen before.
A good reminder for all of us. Okay, and then the last house in this series. Oh no, this is the pond.
This is actually a xeriscape. So many people think xeriscape is cactus and rocks. This is a wonderful pond, and it is very lush, and it's just using plants appropriately and putting them in places where they're going to do well and using them well. And that water is from rainwater collection facility.
I think, yes. Now let's stop and look at the porch and then tell us about the porch.
Well, this is just a nice porch, is that when you build a good porch or good overhangs to cover your windows, and it's also just a great place to sit. And I think it's just very important to have a good overhang over your windows. It's a very simple thing to do, but incredibly important in the Central Texas sun.
So we're building community as well as building wisely. Now, I don't know that I've ever heard of a green building program anywhere else I've ever traveled or lived. Are we unique?
We're very unique. We're one of the first, we are the first in the United States to do this. We started in 1992, and we've been a template for programs all over the United States. There are about close to 15 now, and also all over the world. We've worked with people from Korea, Japan, Germany to help them build green.
And what have we learned from people in other places as we've worked with them?
That we could do better.
In what ways?
Well, that we can really think harder about the materials we use, and also our transportation issues. Europe and Asia sometimes do better with transportation than we do in placing houses where people can get to and from work without using a car.
I see. And what have other places learned primarily from us? I mean, besides the fact that we were first to do this.
Really how to approach the design process and integrate energy efficiency, water efficiency, materials efficiency into sort of one package. And they've been very interested in what we call our integrated design system. And we're happy to work with people to develop that in their own communities.
And in your experience, what has been happening in the building materials industry, and I suppose in the nursery industry also, as you folks have encouraged people who are building structures to think more environmentally?
Well, 10 years ago when we started, we were promoting rainwater collection. Some people thought that was pretty way out. Now it's fairly commonplace for buildings, especially houses that are off city water, to put in rainwater collection, and actually people are doing it in town for irrigation. So 10 years ago people thought that was kind of strange. Now it's commonplace. More and more people are thinking about the plants they put in, so nurseries are handling plants that are appropriate for Central Texas, and more lumber yards are providing materials that are different, engineered materials, plastic lumber for decking, and there are more distributors of alternative wall systems, or new wall systems, not so much alternative, just different ways to do things.
So we're finding then that the marketplace is responding well.
And that's something we've worked very hard to let consumers know that they have options, and when they ask for these options, builders have responded.
That we've got a few more houses to look at. I'm especially intrigued with the last one in the series here. So tell us about these last few houses.
Well, this one is the light limestone that reflects the heat, and the really unique shutters that are on the front. It doesn't have to be just a traditional looking shutter. You can do anything as long as you're blocking that heat from getting into your windows. And
so in this case, in case folks can't see it clearly, the shutters lift up?
They lift up usually, but they're a lattice work that provides a nice dappled view, but yet lets light in. It lets light in yet shade as well. So it's just a good way to do something. Just one alternative.
Mm-hmm. And this house?
This is just a very traditional rebuild house that was built on a lot in Austin, close in. A lot of people are doing what they call infill building, where they've built a house in the community on the existing infrastructure. Very traditional house, lots of good materials like overhangs and stone, and what they call fiber cement siding. That's siding that's made of cement and cellulose fibers, and you can holds paint for a lot longer, so you don't have to paint as much. It's termite and fire resistant. So these are just using materials, but that's a very traditional looking home. Mm-hmm. And this is just a nice xeriscape lawn that's very beautiful flowers. Just another way it's not cactus.
And this one is my favorite, the colors.
It's just a unique house that I just wanted to bring this on, that green building can be just about anything as long as you think about it right and put some thought into the materials and that you use and the energy efficiency and the water efficiency to make yourself comfortable, and your pocketbook will pay off as well as the planet.
And in this case, what in that red and yellow house, what had the builders done for that house?
That was a house that was, I believe, concrete and stucco on the outside, and so they're not using wood on the inside. It's just another way to save energy. Sometimes the concrete walls are very energy efficient, insulating the house quite well, and they had a metal roof on there that was very reflective, and they've got lots of windows that open up, yet they're not windows in places that are going to get the sun that's going to be like the west sun, which is really bright and hot.
Yes, it is. Now, if you could have a perfect world and could imagine what the green building program would be a few years down the road, what would you like to see in terms of what you folks are able to do?
I'd like to see that people think about what they're building and think about their homes and being comfortable. In the perfect world, there wouldn't be a green building program. Everybody would do it right anyway. I think people will understand that this is the way to build. It's not so much the green building program sometimes, but it's the better building program, that people need to ask for these things, ask for energy efficiency as part of their homes, and to be more aware. But I think this is the new wave in building that's in all the magazines and the technical journals. People are thinking about this type of building because we realize that some of our resources are finite and that we do have a responsibility to take care of the earth, and that's part of what our mission is, to provide for our needs now while not compromising the needs of future generation.
Absolutely. Now, I'm curious though, how is it that the Green Building Program is a part of Austin Energy? Most folks will consider Austin Energy simply the company that they pay money to, but
and that's not true. Because it is a municipally owned utility, much of our profits, part of our profits, go back into the community. And for libraries, parks, EMS is part of Austin Energy. So we're providing a service as well. It's your utility. And this is one of the services that we provide you to be more comfortable in your home, energy efficient. We rate homes on the 1 to 5 star rating. And that way people can get a home that's comfortable, save energy, because we want them to be our customer and we want them to be happy. And because we're part of the community too. We live here. We're not some utility off in another state. We're here part of Austin and we want to stay here. And so it's just part of the Austin Energy's mission statement to be a part of the community and providing resources and value.
One of the resources that you've talked about a number of times is the website. So if someone were to go to your website, and surely they will now, what will they find there? What kind of information?
Oh, lots of good information. We have great fact sheets on different types of materials like the plastic lumber, how you can, what some options are, costs, of course, and places where you can find that material. Fact sheets, information about workshops coming up. We're having a workshop on May 5th called Green by Design. We have a CD-ROM that people can purchase to find out about how they can build green, or they can go to our workshop, which is filling up fast on May 5th. So all sorts of information and community resources and lots of great links to other sites too.
Wonderful. Your website will be hit a lot. Your phone will ring. Folks are interested, I know. Thank you, Jill, for telling us what's right here under our noses.
Great. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here. And thank you for joining us on Austin Faith Dialogue. We look forward to seeing you again here next week at this same time.